Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we're going to learn about files, input, output in Python. Okay. All right. So we're going to learn about how to handle text files, including reading from a text file, and how to iterate the lines in a text files in this lesson. Okay. So let's start. All right. So before we get delve into details of file readings, let's identify the importance of files. Okay. So we know that we store data as files. I mean, pretty much in computing, almost everything is a file at the end of the day. Okay. So working with files is important. Okay. So files provide data persistence. Basically, files allows you to save your data into the disk so that you can retrieve them later. Okay. So basically, you can save your data stored in the memory into the hard disk or the file system. Okay. All right. So for example, if we take the file like this list, grocery list, okay, simple grocery list. So we'll have to save it to the disk to save the data. Otherwise, when we exit from Python, we lose our data. Okay. So basically, files provide a way to input uh, data. So basically, we'll have to read from a file. So one way of inputting. So we already know the standard way of inputting through this command line, right? Python prompt. So we use input function. Okay. So the other way is basically reading from a file. Okay. So output basically the standard way of outputting is we use print command, print function. The other way of getting the output is basically writing into a file. Okay. All right, so there are two main types of files. Okay, one is the text data files, text file. Okay, so basically they are filled with characters like strings. Okay, so there should be an encoding. So the encoding is usually ASCII2 or UTF-8, the Unicode standard. Okay, others is binary files. Basically, binary files are filled with binary values like zeros and ones. Okay, and standards and protocols varies. Okay, Python have a particular way of opening them, but there could be many standard and protocols. And in fact, binary is it is the binary file format that gave way to monetize the file system and file systems and then pretty much files. Okay, so for example, the best example is Windows, Microsoft um, Word. Okay, so what they did was they took the text format and it gave it the encoding. So that makes it a binary file, and that encoding system is a trade secret of Microsoft, which they eventually patented. Okay, so it's a trade secret for them, so they use it to sell their product. Okay, all right. So let's move on. So there are three basic file operations. Okay. So one is well reading. Okay. So basically we start first we open the file and then we read it. Okay. And then end of the day we have to write things to the file. So we open it for writing. Okay. Closing, well eventually we open files, so we have to close them. Okay, so it has to be a standard operation of files. Okay, all right. So when opening and writing files, there's this notion called file position. Okay, it's like our cursor in the screen. right? When we type something into a document, there's a blinking cursor, right? And when we type, we start typing from there. So it's similar to that. So basically, it gives you the current position of the file. So file has a position, we call it file pointer. So basically, it tells you where are you at the file. Okay. So basically, upon opening, this position is at the very beginning of the file. Okay. So for binary files, this position basically um, this position tells you how many bytes from uh, from the beginning of the file. So in the all right. So for a text file, it's kind of opaque numbers. That's what Python says. Okay. So you cannot 100% rely on it. Okay. All right. So let's now delve into syntax for reading. Okay. First, we have to open the file. So for that, we have this built-in method. Okay. Open method. Okay. So we have to use this built-in function to open a file. Notice it's a built-in file. It's not a file. It's not belong to file object. It's basically a built-in function. Okay. All right. So syntax for opening is we use the open method, open built-in function, and we pass the file to read the path to the file. So the entire full path to the file as a string as the first parameter. Okay. And then there's this mode for reading. It's actually R. Okay. So so this is basically this parameter. Second parameter tells that okay, so what kind of mode do we have to use? In this case for reading, so we're going to use R. Okay. So this is an example. Okay. So we're going to open this QB data file, and this is the file that our book also refers, the quarterback data file. Okay. I'll show you this file. So we're going to use this file throughout this lesson. Okay. And this is the file. I already have it in my the place where I am running my Python. So I didn't have to put the entire full path. Okay. But if you are opening file from a different location, then you will have to put the entire full path of the file. And we are reading, so the flag is R. Okay. All right. So next, in writing, basically, okay, we still use the same open method. Okay. So now this is going to be the file to write. So basically, it's going to be a new file. So you give it a name, and if it's a different place, you have to put the correct path. And this mode is going to be for writing. So here's an example. So this is the grocery list file that we may practice later. Okay. So, and the mode is W for writing. Okay. All right. So closing. So we need to use close method. Okay. So close method, unlike open method, it's belong to the file object. So that's why I said method of file object. Okay. So syntax, we have the file object, we use the dot notation and close. Okay. And we basically close the file. Okay. So you must close a file, an open file. Okay. So you have to do that. Otherwise, um, basically the garbage collector comes and then reclaim if you are no longer using it, but we don't know when. And during that time, that something could happen, and then you may corrupt your data. So to prevent that, once you are done with the things that you are going to do with file, you have to close the file. Okay. So make it a habit. Okay. All right. So let's do some practice with this. Just the thing that we just learned. Okay. So I'm gonna go to PyCharm. Okay, so over here, so we were first at slide 6. Go back and go to slide 6. So we're gonna practice on first reading this file. Okay, and I already formatted my PyCharm file to save time. Okay, so it's basically we are going to open this file, qb file. Let me first open this file. Okay, so I already have it over here. Okay, so qb data, it is just basically some, well, I'd say contemporary quarterbacks. Okay, some bunch of them. We have Colt McCoy, Josh Freeman, Matt Sharp, Michael Vick, Matt Hasselbeck, and they are details. They are basically record. Okay, so this is the file we're going to use. So I just open it over here. Okay, so now I'm going to open that file for processing in Python using the open method. So I have the file object name, and I use the open method and pass the file, and I'm going to read it. Okay, so well, not yet, but I'm going to just print the qb file object. Okay, and I'm going to print the type of it as well. Okay, so let's run this one for now. Okay, and well, make sure we close it after. Okay, so I have the qb file. Okay, and I'm going to close it. Okay, all right, so let's run this one. Okay, all right, so okay, so slide number 6. So I didn't do anything with the file object yet. I didn't read it actually. I just open it for reading. So, and I have the file object. I basically printed it. It's over here. And you can see now it's the name of that type is basically text IO wrappers. That's the text file class name basically. And then the file name is this. The mode is for reading. And the encoding is UTF-8, basically Unicode text format. Okay, and in here I'm printing the type of the file object, and it's to confirm that it's actually text file format. Okay, so let's go back into our lesson. Okay, so we were here on, all right, so let's go for number 7. Okay, so it's when we were opening for reading. So go over here, and I'm going to open it for reading over here. So I think it's 8. It should be 8. It should be 7, right? So 7 and 7. All right. So I'm opening a new file for writing. Okay. So should be a mistake over here. Okay. So notice I don't have that file. Maybe I have it. Okay. So well, grocery list. It's over here. Okay. But you'll see that I'll override this one. So it's going to open this one. It's empty file. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this. Okay. All right. Okay. So, all right. So now we're going to rerun this. Okay. And we'll see that that file going to get created. And I'm going to run the same thing for that one as well. So let's run it again. So, all right. So that file just got created. Okay. This is the one. Okay. So it's empty. All right. Okay. So we are back. Excuse me. So we were here. Okay. So we're gonna learn about how to actually read. So we now have the file object. So let's learn how we can read from that file. Okay. So the first command is basically, so reading from a file. So we're gonna use the read method. Okay. So read method, and it can take in an integer parameter as an argument. Basically, if we pass in parameter, it can read in number of characters from the beginning of the file. Okay. So basically, since these are text files, this is a string. Okay. So we're going to create a text format string. Okay. So this file content of object will be a string, and this is the file object, and we are going to read. Okay. So file content is string. So once we read n number of characters, the file position going to get moved to the end of that n characters. Okay. So now it's basically sitting in there waiting for the reading maybe, right? So it's going to get moved to the end of that n characters. Okay. So if you don't pass any parameter to read, basically Python going to basically read the entire file. Okay. So the entire content of the file. So the default value for n is the entire file. Okay. So, I mean, this could be dangerous too. So imagine the text file that you are going to open is basically an entire book, which is going to be a huge amount of data. So that Python will try to read that entire file into the memory now. So it's not that a good thing to do. Okay. So be careful when you are going to use read without an argument to read an entire text file. Okay. So let's learn about then how we can read, a line at a time or like a fraction at a time from a file. But before that, we're going to test on this. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to PyCharm, and that's my slide 9. Okay. So I have the QB file open. Okay. For reading. And first, I'm going to read the first 4 characters from my file. So, okay. All right. So basically, so it's a QB file. So I'm going to read just the 4 characters from my file. And in here, after that, all right, I'm going to read the next 6 characters. Okay. And we're going to verify. Okay. So just to show you that, okay, the file position is sitting at the end up to what you already read. Okay. So that one, and then we close it. Okay. And then we open it again, and basically we're gonna uh, open the entire file. But before that, just let's let's run these 2 commands, the 2 lines, and then see what we get. Okay. So, okay, slide number 9. Okay, so slide number 9. So we have, so I just read the first 4 characters. It's called, and the next 5 is basically, next 6 is McCoy. Okay. So let's verify. So I'm going to open it, QB data over here. First 4 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4 is called. And the next 6 characters, so space also a character, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, McCoy. So I got McCoy over here. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Okay. So we're going to read now the entire file, and you will see what's going to happen. Okay. So for that, now we saw that after these 4 characters read, the next 6 characters I read right here, right? So that means basically now to read the entire file again, I just need to first close it and reopen. So that's what I'm doing over here. So here I'm going to read the entire file. Okay. So, all right. So run it. Okay. And you see that the entire file got read. Okay. So, All right, so right here, the last line, and then basically entire file and all the file content got tree. Okay, so that's why if this content is too large for to fit into your memory, it's gonna crash your interpreter or even the computer. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our lesson. Okay. All right. So then the question is, okay, are there any other ways to read, a line at a time or a fraction at a time? Right. So let's investigate. Okay. So we were over here. Okay. All right. So before we learn that, we're going to learn this construct called with statement. It's really powerful and really Pythonic thing, and really useful um, compound statement, basically like for loop. Okay, so well, we learned that we have to close an open file, right? So if we don't, if there's no use of it, garbage collector will come and eventually claim the memory. Okay, so but we don't know when. Okay, so it's always good to explicitly um, close the file to avoid, data corruption. So for that, basically, we can use close method. Okay, we can also use with statement. So the advantage of with statement is basically we don't have to close inside. With statement going to take care of the closing of the file implicitly. So that basically we save one line of code. So we avoid one line of code with. It's more elegant, and you will see that in an interview also, interviewer will look for your application of with instead of you just open and close. Okay, so I mean, sort of kind of show off. Okay, so you know this thing. Okay, all right. So with statement. So this is really vague, and you will struggle to understand what is this about. Okay, but basically this says, okay. So we start with statement start with reserved word, and we create an object that understand this context of usage of with. Okay, and that's the as keyword as, and we give the object name. In this case, if it is a file, it's a file object name that we were using already. Okay, so like in previously it was qb data file, right? Qb file. So and then it's end with the colon, and then we do the stuff that we want to do inside this with statement. So with statement, it's a compound statement, and there's one tab indentation over here, 4 space or one tab. Okay, so it's a compound statement, and there can be as many you want statements inside here. It's like a for loop compound statement. Okay, so here's an example. Okay, so in this case, we're going to open the QB data file. So with open, so this is that context that we were talking about. So now it's clear, right? So we are going to open this file for reading, and this is the object. And in this case, QB file. So as QB file and colon, and then we're going to read it, right? So we're going to read the file inside. So we're going to read it. And at the end of this with statement, okay, basically after we come out of this with statement, the file will be closed. Okay. All right. So let's check on that. Okay. So this is number 11. Hopefully we have something for 11. So let's see. All right. So yeah, with statement. So now basically what I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to use the with statement to open this file. So we write with, okay, open. It's really straightforward, okay. And well, I'm going to get this file for reading, okay. And now we are going to give it an object name. So as qb file, okay. So, and then colon. So opening is taken care of the header of the with statement, okay. Now we're gonna go inside. See that it's already one tab, okay, inside, and now we're gonna read, okay. So I'm gonna read the entire file, probably. Well, yeah, I'm gonna read the entire file for one more time. It's inside my with statement, okay. Now I can do other stuff as well, okay. So I'm gonna read again the entire file. Well, let me read four, try to read four, okay. And then outside the with statement, okay, so I'm going to access the file again, okay. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to open, sorry, read. So this is 4 and read next 6 again, okay. Let's see what things, how things goes, okay. All right, so we are in slide 11, so let's run it again. All right, seems like I saw an error happening, okay. So, well, let's see. So we were in slide 11, okay. All right, slide 11. All right, I opened the file. So that's with statement, right? So printed the content of the file, okay. Well, the next line, this one, didn't print anything, right? So see, the entire file. So let's see what it is. Well, this is 9, it's 11. It's not entire file, okay. So it's just basically right here. This line, see that it's nothing, okay. And why is that? So I'm trying to read 4 more characters, but I got nothing. Well, see here, right? I'm reading the entire file. So we already learned that once we read some amount of characters, the file pointer is sitting at the end of that amount of characters. So once I read the entire file, now the file pointer is sitting at the end of the file. So there's nothing to read anymore. So that's why this is empty. Okay. All right. So, so let me just let's see. We need to change this over here. So let's see. For trying to read, okay, something like that. Okay. So here also, and here also. Okay. All right. So now what happened to this line? See that it didn't execute it at all. So if you go to the top, it's saying, well, it's a value error. IO operation on closed file. See, I am outside of with statement now. So I'm no longer in with statement. So file is now, when I come out of that with statement, file is, the closing of the file is taken care of and it is now closed. So there's no such object now. That's basically it. So basically this is an illegal operation now. So this is a value error. So we put it over here and then I'm going to block it. Okay. So, all right. So, so this you should try out unblocking and running and you see the error. Okay. So it's outside of which, so file is no longer there. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Okay. So we were over here. So go to the next slide. Okay. All right. So let's continue from reading from a file. All right. So So let's continue how we can read lines of files rather than reading entire file. All right. So reading a line. Okay. So basically, in text files, the lines are separated by new line character. Okay. And in fact, well, we'll see it later. Okay. So, so how do we read a line from a text file? So the method we have to use it basically read line method. So we have the file object and read line method. So it gives out a line. Okay. So how Python going to recognize that? In text files, we separate lines from using new line. Basically, when we create a text file, we hit the enter key to create a new line, right? So that's how. Okay. So so it reads an entire line as a string. Okay. So and the position move to the beginning of the next line. Okay, so file position now move to the beginning of the next line. Okay, so if we pass a parameter number n to read line, basically it return only n characters from that line if line length is greater than n, and place file position at n plus 1. Okay, so if it is less than if n is greater than, and basically it reads the first line and then goes to the next line as well. Okay, so let's see how this works. Okay, all right, so we're gonna go to PyCharm again, and we're gonna basically now from now on I'm going to use with statement to open files. Okay, so I recommend for you guys to to do the same. Okay, so first I'm going to read the first line of the quarterback data file. So this is the call. Okay, all right, and then so let's run this one first. Okay, all right, so we were at 11, so it's 12 right here. Okay, so I just read the first line. Okay, well, let's see, did I, okay, let's see, so 12. Oh, so I made a mistake over here. Should be read line. Okay, so let me rerun. Not lines. Should be read line. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So this should be read lines. Line. Sorry. All right. So let's run it again. All right. So 12. Okay. Right here. Okay. So I just read the first line. Okay. All right. The first line of the file. So we can verify it's called McCoy, this one. Okay. All right. So let's go back and read. So I'm going to read 5 characters from second line. Okay. So it's right here. So let's try to do that. Okay. Because after I read a line, the next, so the file pointer is going to be sitting at the beginning of the next line. So let's verify that. Okay. So, okay. And then basically, well, I don't need to do this. We verified that with statement works that way. Okay. I'm going to close that. And yeah, so that's not it. Okay. So number 12. Okay. So Josh, and who is Josh? Josh Freeman. Okay. So this is to verify that, okay, after we read a line using read line, the pointer is sitting at the very beginning of the next line. So I read just 4 characters after that. Okay. So let's try to now see how things with if we pass a different, let's say, number. Okay, so for example, I'm going to, well, I'm going to block this and then run this again with a different. Okay, so let's say 20. Well, not 20. Let's say um, I'm going to put like 80 over here, maybe 100. Okay, so let's see how, if I put, so this is basically, now I'm trying to put number of characters that is larger than the length of one line. Okay, so this is like right here, maybe close to 50. So 100 is that much more than that. So let's try that. Okay, so it's number 12. Okay, so I read, so first one I read, right, the first line. Second one, right, so if it is, now it's to verify basically if it is larger than uh, a line, basically it's rounded up to a line and then print that line. Okay, so if it is less than, it's only print that many characters that it can print. Okay, all right, so let's go back to our lesson. Okay, so we go over here. Okay. All right. Okay, let's continue with reading from a file. Okay, so we learned how to read a file, read a line from a file. So read lines, read entire files into a list. Okay, so all the lines in a file into a list. So that's what I say over here, a list of lines. Okay, so each line will be an item in that return list. Okay, so the position moved to the end of the file, because again we are reading the entire file, not just as a big string. Now it's going to be a list. Okay, so we use the read to read the entire file, but the content read to a big string, just one big string. But here it's going to be entire list of lines. So the file pointer is going to be at the end of the file. Okay, so read lines. Okay, so basically the entire content again going to get read. So again you have to be careful. Okay, so you can also pass a parameter to read lines as well. Okay, so we can see how that works too. Okay, all right, so let's verify that. Okay, so it's slide 13, so we're gonna basically run read lines. Okay, and that, and over here I'm going to basically pass a parameter and then see how things get read. Okay, so in here I'm going to put 100. Okay, all right, so it's not going to be the first line. Okay, so I'm going to just remove this. Okay, all right, otherwise misleading. Okay, so this is going to be all the lines going to get read. Okay, so it'll be a list. Okay, all right, so let's go check that. Okay, so slide 13, see, it's a list. Now if you see that, you can scroll all the way to the end, and you can see now at the end of each line the new line character as well. Okay, so these are comma separated values, so each line is a string, big string. Okay, so each line is a string. Okay, so each line is a string, and at the end you see the new line character, and we read all the lines. Okay, so it's a list of entire set of lines of the file. Okay, So, and the next line, we didn't run it. So let's put the put this in, see what comes out. Okay. So, and you know the outcome, right? Because now I read the entire file, the file pointer will be at the end of the file. So there's nothing more to read. So this doesn't give us anything. Okay. So I'm gonna block this. So that's why I'm opening the file again over here. Okay. So now that I can basically open the file, and now I can pass a parameter and test that one. Okay. So let's try that out. Okay. Okay. So, and this time, side 13. So I read first one. I think I read, yeah. So in this one, see, oh, I didn't call it. So we need to call it. Okay. So, all right. So slide 13. So opened, I basically read, so again list, okay, but just 2 lines, okay, okay. So because it's the characters now limited, so Python can only recover 2 lines within this limit of 100 characters. So it just print that 2 lines, okay. It doesn't print partial. That's you need to remember. It doesn't print partial values, okay. So read line, print partial values. Read lines does not, okay. All right. So let's go to the next one. Okay. So next slide, which is going to be our last slide. Okay. All right. Next to last slide. Okay. All right. So uh, the other thing that we have to understand about text files is that they are also sequences in Python. Basically, text files are sequence of lines. Okay. So you know that, right? Lines are separated by new line character, and bunch of such lines is a text file. So forms a text file. So they are sequence of lines of text. So we can basically, since it's a sequence now, we can basically iterate that file basically. Okay. So that's one way of basically printing or do anything with the file is basically you can iterate the entire text file as a sequence. So here's the for loop syntax. Okay. So QB file. So this is the file object. Okay. And then we have open the file, and then for a line in QB file. See that? That is the sequence. It's the file object. Okay. So for a line in QB file, print a line. So this just do something in there, and we close it. Okay. So let's check on that real quick. So instead of using just opening explicitly, I'm going to use with statement here. Okay. So with open, okay, open QB data file for reading gain. So as QB file, okay. Right now, for loop, okay, for right a line, oops, line in QB file, or you can say, well, let's see, lines. We use the plural in QB file, okay, and we can print that line, okay. So all right, so we'll print the entire file. That's fine, okay. So let's quickly run this, okay. All right, so 14, so we are at 14, okay. So printed the entire file, okay. So over here, so we printed the entire file. Notice why we have a empty line over here. It's because that new line. Okay. Remember we have that new line over here. So new line is basically the enter key, right? So basically that's why we have this empty line. So when we print that line, so that also included over here. Okay. I already have this one here. I'm using it to my use as well. All right. So that's iterating a file line by line using for loop. And we can do the same for using while loop. Okay, so that's our next slide basically. Okay, so you can also use the while loop. So in the case of while loop, basically, okay, oops, case of while loop, um, okay, so you have to have basically a one line open already, so that we can go into the while loop. Okay, so a line is now not empty because I already opened the first line. So non-empty list, non-empty string is true when we evaluate that as a Boolean expression. So this will be true, right? Because we already read a line. So we're going to go in and then print the file. And after that, we're going to read subsequent lines. Okay. And at the end, we close it. Okay. Let's quickly try on that as well. Okay. So I'm going to copy the with statement over here. Okay. And then inside I need to open one line at first, right? So a line equals, okay, qb file dot, sorry, read line. Oops. Read line. Okay. So after that, I can start my while loop. While a line, okay, right, and then print a line. So, and then I have to read the next line. Okay, so this basically this continues. Okay, all right. So let's run it again. So it's slide 15. Okay, so we printed the whole file again. Okay, using while loop. Okay, all right. All right, here we have it. So we have a question, the problem at the end. I'm going to do it in a separate video. Okay, so in our next video, we're going to first solve this one and then go into writing into file in Python.